Here's more wrestling news for September 12th, 2022, and we're kicking off this afternoon with WWE, as a lot has changed over the past few months. Not only is Triple H the head of talent relations and has brought back several released superstars, but he's also the head of WWE's creative department, and that could be good news for one name in particular. According to sources, Shinsuke Nakamura is set to get a very decent push towards the end of this year or early 2023, though details are still sketchy as to what that push will be. One idea that is being floated around is for the King of Strong Style to return to his NXT style over the coming months, but that wouldn't mean he'd be returning to the brand himself. The report adds that Triple H loves Nakamura's work and has since he joined WWE back in 2016. While Nakamura became a two-time NXT champion and won the 2018 Men's Royal Rumble, the King of Strong Style has yet to hold a world title on the main roster, but perhaps 2023 will be the year for Shinsuke Nakamura. If Nakamura does plan on becoming a world champion in WWE, he could have to one day face off with Roman Reigns, who has been unstoppable over the past 2 years. Fans believed Drew McIntyre would be the one to dethrone Reigns at Clash at the Castle, and while WWE had at one point considered it, they went with the Tribal Chief. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer addressed Reigns' title run, which won't be ending anytime soon. Meltzer explained that WWE's plans is for Roman to be a multi-year champion and is being built to be the legend for this generation. Having McIntyre win at Clash at the Castle would have been a huge moment and something many fans think should have happened, but it would have been a major problem for WWE's long-term goals for the Tribal Chief. Reigns will have to lose the Universal titles one day, and it will be huge when it happens, but WWE's long-term plans are for the Tribal Chief to remain his dominant self for a long time to come. One woman who's no stranger to titles herself is Sasha Banks, who has become a big name both in and out of wrestling. While fans will know Banks best for being the boss of WWE, she has also made a name for herself out of the ring as Koska Reeves in The Mandalorian and has big plans for the future. Recently, Banks spoke about wanting to branch out into other forms of entertainment, including more acting roles, but when speaking to the Ach2 podcast, she said she wants to own the characters she portrays. You always want to create characters to portray and live by. For me, it's really just owning my own intellectual property and owning the character behind the character and really defining who is the character that is playing the character. A lot of the IP about Banks isn't owned by her but by WWE, who've made a ton of money from putting the boss's image on merchandise and selling it to fans. Banks is expected to return to WWE TV soon following her and Naomi's May walkout, but she still has plans away from the ring, and time will tell what's next in the future of the boss. Now, for years, Armando Montalvo was a huge problem for WWE, randomly showing up at the Performance Center and asking for a job. In one instance, Montalvo wiped his own feces on the wall of the center and was shot by officers in another tense standoff when police suspected he had a weapon on him. Now Montalvo is back in the news, but it's not for any new actions, it's because he's been featured on A&E. Montalvo's actions were recently the feature on Court Cam, which included footage of the shooting with officers. Saying that the Florida wannabe pro wrestler lost his match with police, hopefully WWE has seen the last of Armando Montalvo, as his actions are the last thing WWE wants to deal with. Back to the actual trained professional wrestlers, as 2022 has been a big year for Madcap Moss, who earned a lot of respect after suffering a stiff shot on his neck at Elimination Chamber 2022. Moss landed awkwardly on his neck during his match with Drew McIntyre and was said to be apologetic to WWE management after the match, earning a lot of praise backstage. Speaking on Busted Open Radio this week, Madcap Moss spoke about his career so far and that Paul Heyman compared him to a certain legend who has his own neck issues. Paul Heyman said that to me. When he was running Raw, he said, "I've never seen anyone hit the ropes like that since Steve Austin." And again, yeah, he did. Hit him with reckless abandon, and that's who I try to emulate doing that. Any comments relating a WWE superstar to Stone Cold Steve Austin is a good thing, and back when Heyman was the executive director of Raw, Moss was one of the talents he wanted to give a focus. After teaming with Happy Corbin, the 2022 Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner is going it alone, and we can only wait and see whether Madcap Moss has a career anywhere close to the Texas Rattlesnake. When Kenta joined WWE in 2014 as Hideo Itami, he was part of the NXT 5, a group of prized signings including Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Neville, and Finn Balor. Unlike the others though, Kenta never had that big run in WWE, and he's now spoken about his frustrations with the company. In a tweet, Kenta described working in WWE and said that 4 years of his time in the company was one of the worst experiences in wrestling, as he wasn't allowed to use his own finisher. Kenta is of course referring to the GTS, a move he invented and that was, for lack of a better word, stolen by CM Punk, who used it when he joined WWE in 2006. While Kenta would eventually get to use the move, that wouldn't be until years into his run with WWE, which clearly is still a sore spot for the Japanese star. WWE tried to make Kenta joining WWE a big deal, even having Hulk Hogan endorse the Japanese star at a WWE live event, but it wasn't meant to be, and that's partly thanks to CM Punk, according to the man himself. Speaking of heat between talent, R-Truth's on-screen character has often joked that he grew up idolizing John Cena, but that isn't how things were in real life. In the early 2000s, it was reported that Cena and Truth, who was with WWE at the time, had a run-in at an airport, and that the two wrestlers, who were both rapping on screen at the same time, got pretty heated. Years later, Truth would return to WWE at a time when Cena had become the biggest star, and in an interview on the Nothing Beats Experience podcast, recalled his first interaction back with John. "When I got to the locker room, all the boys were sitting down just watching. Cena was in the bathroom, so when I came in, I didn't notice. They were all sitting there waiting. When he came in, he looked, he said, 'We're not gonna have any problems, are we?' I said, 'Man, hell no, I'm on your ship.' From there, everything was settled between the two, and Truth would work with Cena on multiple pay-per-views in 2011. While Cena's full-time days with WWE are over, he is expected to make plenty more appearances, and he won't be having any problems with Truth despite the former bad blood between them. And we're ending today with Jerry Lawler, an all-time legend of wrestling, who suffered an important anniversary last weekend. On Twitter, the King spoke about the 10th anniversary of his infamous cardiac incident during an episode of Raw in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, saying he defeated death after previously working a match on the show. That match would see Lawler and Randy Orton team up to defeat then WWE Champion CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler in what would be the second biggest win for Jerry on that night. Lawler added in his tweet that his heart had stopped beating for 22 minutes and thanked WWE's veteran medical official Dr. Sampson for saving his life. In a later tweet, the King shared a photo of himself at the State Fair in Nashville and said he decided to celebrate the 10th anniversary of his heart scare by wrestling. Competing in a physical match may not be the best way to celebrate having a cardiac event following a physical match, but that's what Lawler wanted, and we're pleased that the King is still around and his heart's still ticking. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.